Ha. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Well, happy Monday to you. Happy new day, happy new week to everyone. And in fact, we are heading into the very crucial days of the month, which usually used to be the last trading day of the month stroke the first trading day of the new month. So this crossover scenario we are currently witnessing is likely going to be bringing some strange activities into this market. It could come in the form of indecision, and of course it could come in the form of volatility in the market to push price either way. And of course, as technical traders, we do want to be sniffing through the current market structure to identify trading setups ahead of those big moves. So first of all, I would like to say I'm very sorry for coming in a little bit late this morning, as I was trying to sort out my broadcast on the TradingView platform, which I just started today. So I'm just trying to test run and see if it's working quite fine. So if you are with me on TradingView as well, you can also join me on that platform, and let's run this together from both areas. That feels very comfortable for you. So with that being said here, I would like to first of all welcome, for those of us who are joining for the first time, you're highly welcome on board. And I'm very excited and glad to have you around with us this morning. Well, you might be asking what this is all about. Well, as technical traders, we usually gather during the Forex Morning Mastery, where we come to review our existing positions if we have any, look at the current market structure, use the data we can identify to strategically position ourselves ahead of both the London and the New York session. This happens on a daily basis, 8:05 a.m. UTC, 9:05 a.m. West African time. And in fact, I do encourage you to stay tuned in so you don't miss out on any of the valuable ideas we shall be deliberating on today. And the more time you spend with us, of course, the better you get to understand how our approach to the financial market is, and be able to use the information you gather here to make your own independent trading decisions. So once again, you are very much welcome on board. I see your comment, Jonah Aruna from YouTube. Good morning to you. Glad to have you around, and I do hope you had a wonderful weekend out there. So as usual, we are going to be diving right into the business, of course. And the first thing we usually do on a daily basis is to check on the economic calendar. And for those of you who have been with me for a while now, you know how important checking the economic calendar is, as these fundamental factors often manifest on the charts in technical patterns and price movements. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns on the chart, hereby giving us valuable information that we need to position ourselves in such a way that we capitalize on the next potential move prior, during, and even after this economic event. And right here on the economic calendar, we usually look at as economic dockets that affects the assets on our watch list. And basically this week, I didn't mention earlier that for this week we have three major assets we are going to be looking forward to. We have the GBPUSD, the XAUUSD, which is popularly known as the Goldspot, and of course the USOILSPOT, which we have been monitoring in the last couple of months. So we are going to be looking at this. And in fact, for newcomers, I would like to state here that the Forex Morning Mastery is basically a follow-up detail to my videos I share during the course of the weekend. So usually during the weekends, I normally share videos that we will be videos on the asset we will be getting ready for the new week, which if you had not seen that video, I encourage you to watch that video, as if you watch it, it gives you a background knowledge of how we got to the point we are on the 1 hour time frame during the Forex Morning Mastery. So for those who have not watched the video, the link is right in the description box of this current video. So I will advise you to check it out so that you can be on the same page with us. So now going back into the economic calendar, we are going to be based on the assets on our watch list for this week. We are going to be focusing on activities from the US and the United Kingdom economic docket. Now for today, Monday, October 30th, there are no high impact events, so I would like to include the medium impact event, and let's see what we have. So I will just take out all these other economies, which is not something we want to allow to get clocked on our calendar. So here we are. All right, so for today, Monday, October 30th, there are no high impact events, no medium impact events. So definitely there's nothing for us to look out for. So what we are going to be doing now is to dive into the current market conditions and use our technical skills to strategically position ourselves ahead of both the London and the New York session. So as usual, the first asset on our watch list, which one are we taking first? Okay. So this is always the usual thing I normally experience whenever I'm trying to load up my USOILSPOT chart on TradingView. I usually get this. All right. So the first asset on our watch list for today is going to be the USOILSPOT. And in fact, we have an interesting situation going on in the market right now. And considering the fact that I didn't make the my top-down analysis on the USOILSPOT public, because of this, I will be taking you through my thought process from the higher time frame into the lower time frame during the session. So the first thing we are going to be doing here is to run through the higher time frame so that we can have an holistic perspective into what is really going on in this market. And on the higher time frame, this is what I was able to come up with. In fact, I took into consideration the nature of price action since last year, October, which is roughly about a year now, to be able to identify what the current market structure is looking like. Now, one of the first things I was able to note here is that $85 area, which has played a major role in determining the direction of price action in the last 1 year. And in fact, if you look at the $85 area here, you can see how at some point it was a consolidation phase, which further emphasized the level of indecision in the market around that area before that structure was broken to the downside in the month of November last year. And as you will see that since November of last year, price action had remained below the $85 area to emphasize the strength of the sellers during that phase. And not until the month of August, that's like a couple of months ago, we finally saw the breakout of the $85 area. And since the breakout happened, you know that whenever, technically, whenever price breaks out of a structure, such as a very key significant one like this, we expect that some point in time price will come back, retest the structure, maybe to incite an uptrend continuation, or probably break it down to incite a sell-off. So you can see how crucial this current juncture is in the market as price is back into that zone around the $85 area. Now, in addition to the $85 zone is this ascending trend line I was able to spot after connecting the series of higher lows since the month of March. Now, the first one here is this temporary one, as you will see, the lighter ascending trend line. And then we have the major ascending trend line, which is here, highlighted in the thick trend line you can see on your screen. Now, if we zoom into this current structure, you will see that price action is currently trading exactly around that ascending trend line, which interestingly shares a confluence zone with that key level at the $85 area. And of course, you know how we use both our ascending trend lines and key levels. As long as price remains above the structures, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that support the idea of buying that asset. Now, with the way things are going right now, price action still appears to be sitting above that ascending trend line, and in this regard, I want to be looking out for setups that will support the idea of buying this asset. However, if price action does the opposite instead and it breaks down that ascending trend line, then we might likely see situations where a retest of structure will incite a bearish momentum, maybe back into this ascending trend line in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. And if it so happens that this ascending trend line is broken to the downside, then we'll have no other choice than to look out for more selling opportunities. So it's very important that we take note of how crucial this juncture is right now, and for the fact that price sits above that ascending trend line and close to the key level. Let's scale down into the lower time frame to see how participants in this market have been reacting to the zone since this new week started. Now, to do this, we will be scaling down into a much more lower time frame where we want to look out for the nature of trading activity since the beginning of this week. And I think I had a structure on the 4 hours time frame. Please, okay, let's look at the structure on the 4 hours time frame. It's very, very important to what the current structure is saying on the lower time frame. Now, I have a very interesting setup on the 4 hours time frame where I was able to spot a reversal pattern within a reversal pattern. Quite interesting it is. Now, let's look at the structure here and let's look at what has been going on since the last couple of days of the last month stroke the beginning of this month. And in fact, it was more of a downtrend scenario as we saw price action nosedive, giving us this impulsive bearish leg into that $81 zone. And despite this strong bearish momentum, we saw that in the last 4 to 5 weeks, the inability of sellers to break through this area reveals that buyers are very strong around this area, as majority in the market consider the US oil price as cheap enough to buy. And one thing we noticed is that we saw buy pressure around that area, giving us a situation where we might likely be seeing a reversal pattern. Now, if we look at the structure further, you will see that the first touch came here. Price climbed back into the $89 area, and during the course of last week's trading session, we saw price was unable to break the previous low, giving us a higher low in that regard, which might likely incite an uptrend move in such a way that it transitions into a double bottom structure where the $89 level will be serving as the neckline, where we will be looking out for the breakout to confirm and validate that reversal pattern to buy. However, if we take it a little step further to go deep into the current structure, we can see that we have a privilege of even joining a buy position before the breakout of that $89 level happens. Now, the question is, how are we going to be doing that? Now, let's zoom into this current structure and look at what has been going on here since last week. Now, we had this all impulsive move down into the structure where we saw that the $81 area still remains a strong buy niche for participants in this market. Then we saw price come back into the $85 area. Remember, that level is our key level on the higher time frame, on the daily time frame, which we identified. Now, we saw a series of higher lows, giving us signs that sellers are finding it difficult to settle below the $83 area, giving us the scenario where the $85 area at this point in time will be serving as a neckline of this reversal pattern. So we want to be seeing a breakout of the structure to welcome opportunities to buy this asset for today. So this is what we are going to be looking at to join a bullish momentum even before the breakout of the $89 level happens. Now, with this information we have gathered here, let's scale down into the 1 hour time frame and let's see how participants in the market has been reacting to this current structure since the beginning of this week. Now, if we scale further down into the lower time frame, you will see that we have hold on a second, please. Okay, so you will see that we have a simple setup here that we will be using to guide our trading decisions. Now, since the week began, we can see, hold on a second. Since the week began, you will see here that price action has remained confined within the $84.60 level and the $83.85 area to emphasize the level of indecision at this point. Now, with the situation we have here, I want to wait for either the breakout of the resistance line to give me an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give me an opportunity to sell. And considering the fact that price has been consolidating since the later part of last week, we will need some confirmations before we jump into any position. And what do I mean by looking out for confirmations? Now, if we look at this structure here, you know we have a range already, and you know how we do it in this community. As soon as price action falls into this kind of range, we want to exercise patience and wait for the breakouts to happen. Now, for us to think of buying, because this is one thing I want to be looking out for, considering the fact that price remains above the robust demand zone we identified on the 4 hours time frame. So in that regard, I want to be looking out for buying opportunities here. So I would like to have a buy stop order sitting above the $84.60 level, where a retest of structure could give further confirmation of an uptrend scenario. So that is what I'm going to be looking out for to buy. So price breaking out of that resistance line, which happens to be the highest point price action has been for this week, then I want to consider buying at that point and having a stop loss sitting somewhere close to the support line of that range, which will be dovetailing to approximately 70 pips in that regard, which is not bad for a position like this. Now, with that being said here, we still cannot ignore the potentials that sellers could come in. If the escalating tension in the Middle East sees a positive light, we might likely see price action drop. And if that is going to be happening, what are the conditions we want to see on this chart that will make us feel comfortable changing our bias from bullish to bearish? Now, for me to consider bearish here, I would indeed need a confirmation to happen. So if price action breaks down and close below the $83.85 level, I want to see a retest of structure, giving me signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the $83.85 level, and of course this will reflect on the chart as selling pressure below that area, giving me an opportunity to sell. But trust me, I will be with you on all of my public platforms to give you updates on how we are going to be managing our position on the USOILSPOT for today. So our center of focus for today's trading session is basically between the $84.60 level and the $83.85 area, where depending on the direction of the breakout will give us an headway into where price will be going for today. So I do not know if you have any questions as regards to my explanation so far. If you do, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and as usual, I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off to see if there are any questions before we move on to the next asset on our watch list. And while I take that time off, you can as well use that time to mark out those key levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions. All right, all right. So, in the absence of no questions, I do want to assume that we are all on the same page, and in that regard, we'll just move on to the next asset on our watch list. And in fact, if you still have questions, feel free to drop them. Okay, I can see a comment from Fred. Okay. All right, I'll take that as a compliment, Fred. Thank you very much, and I'm very excited to have you around with us this morning. Good morning, and trust you had a wonderful weekend. So, with that being said, here, in the absence of no questions, let's just dive right into the next asset on our watch list for this week. All right, everyone. Back into the chat. So the next asset on our watch list for this week is the GBPUSD. And first of all, a reminder to those of us who are joining for the first time. I already done a top-down analysis on the GBPUSD, and this is published on both my YouTube and TradingView platform, and of course on my Telegram platform too as well. So I'll encourage you to watch my video on the GBPUSD, as this will give you a background knowledge of how we got to the point we are on the 1 hour time frame. Basically, the Forex Morning Mastery session is a follow-up detail on the 1 hour time frame, which is our execution time frame. So I encourage you to watch my videos so you can have a better understanding of what is going on here. So back into the current structure on the GBP USD. And for those of us who are with me on my public platforms, you must definitely have gotten an update as to how we are going to be managing our position on this asset. Now, for those of you who watch my video on the GBP USD, remember that the current price action is sitting on a robust demand zone, which we identified around the 1.21 1.20500 area, which has been dominant for buy pressure since the beginning of the month of October. And the inability of sellers to break through the structure in the last 5 weeks is a sign for me that we might likely be seeing a reversal pattern. And not unless this demand zone is broken to the downside can I consider selling the GBP USD on a long-term perspective. Now, with the current situation here and the fact that price remains above that demand zone, we do want to be looking out for market conditions that support the idea of buying. And unless we start seeing significant structure unfold, such as in lower highs and lower lows, can I start considering selling this asset? Now, going into the 1 hour time frame, looking at how the current market structure is, what I did this morning while trying to dissect the current market structure was notice that price action has been confined within a range since the beginning of this week. And for those of you who are with me on my TradingView, Telegram platform, and YouTube channel, you will see that we've identified this already. I shared this update this morning as regards to how we are going to be managing this position. Now, one thing we can tell from the structure is that the new week has commenced with a cautious optimism as trading activity is currently consolidating and confined within the 1.21330 and the 1.21060 area. And despite attempts to gain momentum, the pair is currently experiencing a measured uptick, with traders exercising caution in the meantime amidst ongoing tension in the Middle East. And of course, we know that we are looking forward to pivotal economic features from both the United States and the United Kingdom during the course of this week. This week, they are going to be determining their interest rate decisions from both the Fed and the Bank of England. So it's a very, very important week, and it's very likely that we see some consolidation phase in decision phases prior to this event, which could reflect on the chart as choppy situations or consolidation phases. Now, with the current situation we have here, you know how we use our range in this community. As long as price action falls into a range like this, we have no other choice than to exercise patience and wait for either the breakout of the resistance line of the range for an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line of the range to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, in addition to this range, here are a couple of ascending trend lines which we will be using to guide our trading decisions for at least for the first half of this week. Now we have an ascending trend line. In fact, we have a couple of them here. We have the temporary one there, and we have the major one right here. Now, price action is currently oscillating around that ascending trend line, giving us a clue into how significant this zone is. Now, depending on how participant in the market reacts to this area, around the 1.21 will give us an insight into what our next line of action will be. Now, with the situation here, though price has broken down the support line of that range, we will still need some further confirmation, like significant breakdown of that ascending trend line, where a retest of structure confirms that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the structure, giving us a better confirmation to join a decline to the downside. So this is what I will be looking out for to join a bearish momentum. And of course, you would agree with me that this is likely going to be taking a couple of hours before it forms. And trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of my public platform, of this platform, to give you updates on how we are going to be managing our positions in the next 2 to 3 hours. So that is the only condition for me to consider selling the GBP USD today. However, in as much as we look out for selling opportunities, you do know how we do it in this community. We also want to keep tab with the opposite direction as well, because market structure could say something and in fact the market could do something different. Now, in this situation here, how do I want to start considering buying? What is it that I want to see on this chart that will make me feel comfortable buying the GBP USD? Now, the first thing first here is that since the beginning of this week, this is the highest point price action has been. That is the 1.21330 area. As you will see here, I'm giving us a resistance line of that range. And in fact, I do want to see price break out of that range at the resistance level to give me an opportunity to buy. So it could either be a breakout or a retest of structure for us to join a bullish momentum to the upside. So let's see how the market will play out within this range. It appears that sellers are likely at trying to gain some momentum here, as it is evident on this chart that we have an engulfing bearish candle lying within that range. So if this persist, we might likely be seeing the breakdown of that ascending trend line to give us an opportunity to sell in this particular market. So let's be on standby to capitalize on that move. And of course, I will be with you in the comment section of both my TradingView and Telegram platform. Now, as regards to our stop losses, let's ensure that the stop losses capture this range, which is about for both buy and selling opportunity. So this range is about a 25 to 30 pips range. So our stop loss should roughly be within that zone. So if you have any questions as regards to my illustration on the GBP USD, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And if there is an aspect you really do not understand and you need further clarification, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So as usual, I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off to see if there are going to be any questions, while you also use that time to mark out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions. I see your comment, Hiker's Diary. Okay, I see you. Good morning to you. Glad to have you around with us this morning too as well. All right. Okay, so in the absence of no questions, I do assume that we are all on the same page. And in that regard, we shall be moving on to the next asset on our watch list for today, which of course is going to be the last asset we are looking at. All right, so the last asset on our watch list for today is my favorite, and that is the XAUUSD, which of course is popularly known as the Goldspot. And in fact, we have quite an interesting situation here on the XAUUSD. Remember, we have been buying this asset since the beginning of this month, and in fact, price action has consistently found higher highs and higher lows in this particular market. And a reminder for those of you who are joining for the first time, I can see that some people are joining in afresh. The Forex Morning Mastery is only a follow-up detail to my top-down analysis on this asset we are looking at. And if you had not watched those assets, those videos, please, I would encourage you to watch them both on my Trading View, my YouTube channel. You'll see the videos, watch them, and it will give you a background knowledge of how we got to the current positions we have on the 1 hour time frame, and also serve as an educational tool to helping you understand how to use price action to position yourself ahead of the next move. So going back into the structure, for those of you who had watched that video, remember that we had our key level situated at the $1,980 area. And of course, if price remains above our key level, we continue to look out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying that asset. Now, of course, price remains above the key level at this point, and in fact, we saw these engulfing bullish candles which struck out of that structure during Friday's trading session to emphasize the strength of the buyers in this particular market. And of course, we know that price action hit a multi-month high around the $2,006 area, and we've begun to see price action nosedive to the downside, which I will consider to be a retracement of the previous impulse leg, which is a reflection of profit-taking activities going on in the market. And of course, you know that whenever key players in the market buy an asset such as this, they buy it at a cheap price. At a point in time, they will want to be closing in some of their positions, which of course will reflect on the chart as price retracing into a key area in anticipation of the next uptrend situation. So in that regard, I want to consider this bearish momentum we are noticing at the beginning of this week as a potential retracement until structure states otherwise. Now, the downside of this XAUUSD, now the question you will ask right now is, what are the chances that prices will continue to the upside? Now, why is it that price cannot drop further to the downside and in fact incite a sell-off? Well, the downside that we are witnessing at this point in time is cushioned due to the escalating tension in the Middle East. And of course, in this kind of geopolitical tension, we usually see this majority drive their capital into safe haven assets such as the gold. And this, of course, may restrict the substantial corrective decline of this asset with the attempts that price will climb further to the upside. And in that regard, from a technical standpoint, I have this ascending trend line that I will be using to guide my trading decisions for this week, at least for the first half of this week. So after connecting the series of higher lows since last week Tuesday, we have this beautiful ascending trend line we shall be using to guide our decisions at least for today's trading session. And of course, you know how we use our ascending trend line. As long as price remains above the ascending trend line, we do want to be looking out for patterns and structures that support the idea of buying that asset. Now, since price still remains above the structure and we've seen some selling pressure, we might likely see a situation where price will retrace into the ascending trend line in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. Now, in addition to that ascending trend line is this key zone, this was what I was able to spot at the beginning of this week. As you will see, price was initially confined within a range that is between the highest zone here at the $2,006.50 area and the 1,995 level. Now, for those of you who had watched my video on the XAUUSD, remember the 1,995 zone is the resistance of that zone we identified on the 4 hours time frame. I think for the sake of clarity, let me quickly show you that so that we can all be on the same page here. And please do watch those videos as it will give you a better clarity into what we are looking at. Now, this is the 4 hours time frame, and on the 4 hours time frame, we identified that price has been bullish since the beginning of this month, and not until it got into this area we begin to see some consolidation phase happen as price was confined within the 1,995 and the 1,963 area. Now, the breakout of the resistance line of that range gives us an insinuation that we are likely going to be seeing an uptrend continuation pattern where the breakout retest of the resistance line will welcome more buying opportunities here. Now, if you look at what happened here, price is back into the resistance line of that range. So what we are going to be doing now is to know if this breakout here is a true breakout or a false breakout. Now, how do we know if it's a false breakout? If we're going to know if it's a false breakout, if price drops and in fact breaks down this ascending trend line we identified earlier, then retest of structure confirming that buyers are finding it difficult to break back above the 1,995 and that ascending trend line, then this might likely incite a sell-off where, depending on how price reacts to the 1,963 level, will decide if we are going to be adding more sell position or joining another uptrend scenario. But that is in the meantime anyways. Let's focus on where price action is right now. So if price breaks down and retests the 1,995 and the ascending trend line, then we might likely be seeing an opportunity to sell. But if buy pressure persists above both this ascending trend line and the 1,995, then we want to be looking out for market conditions that supports the idea of buying that asset. So now let's scale back down into the 1 hour time frame so that we can see how market participants are reacting to the resistance line of that range we identified on the 4 hours time frame. So this morning, this is what I was able to come up with. We have a range unfolding and price appeared to have broken down that range, giving us signals that sellers are trying to push for price further to the downside. But in this case scenario, I wouldn't be advising us to jump into a sell position considering the impulsive move that brought us into this level. So it might still be a retracement move where price retraces into our golden zone area to incite an uptrend continuation. So in that regard, I want to exercise patience here to look for significant confirmation that states otherwise, that sellers are going to be dictating the pace. And this may reflect on the chart as a breakdown, significant retest of structure where price continues to find lower lows and lower highs, breaking down that ascending trend line to confirm that we are good to sell the XAUUSD. But if price drops into the ascending trend line and we begin to see buy pressure resume around or above the ascending trend line where price transitions into a reversal pattern like a double bottom structure, head and shoulder pattern, then we want to be joining an uptrend continuation. So this is how we are going to be managing this trade for today's trading session. Now, to make things a little bit easier for us to position ourselves strategically ahead of the next move, we are going to be projecting the potential area where the retracement phase may likely head. And to do that, we will need our Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the previous impulse leg, and aim at an area between the 50 and the 78.6% of that impulsive move. Now, if we do that correctly, we have this area between the 1,993 level and of course the 1,983 area. So it's like a $10 zone. So I always like my golden zone area to be a lighter yellow, and then let's label this area as a potential demand zone. So if we start seeing what they call reversal patterns within this area by pressure, then we know that the retracement phase is about to end. Then we do want to be getting ready to buy. So we have this area marked as our temporary demand zone in the meantime. And of course, you can see how it coincidentally shares a confluence with that ascending trend line. So if price action gets into the zone and we begin to see some buy pressure, higher lows and reversal pattern, we mark out the neckline, then we look out for opportunities to join the uptrend. And if price continues to break out of the $2,006.50 level, we do want to be adding more buy positions. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity here, we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers too. Now, if I want to feel comfortable selling the XAUUSD today, I would rather want to see price break down this ascending trend line, retest it for me to consider selling the XAUUSD. But if you are a scalper, you are a counter trend trader, and you do want to take advantage of a short-term opportunity, well, a retest of the 1,995 area where selling pressure resumes may incite some selling opportunities back into this potential demand zone, or that key level at the 1,980 to give us about 150 pips on that one. But personally, I'm not going to be taking this one, as I will exercise patience and wait to see how the market is going to transition within that potential demand zone, which interestingly shares a confluence with an ascending trend line. So whatever pattern comes in here will give me an insight into where price will be going. So I will be giving you updates on both my Trading View, Telegram, and of course YouTube channel as we continue to monitor price action on this asset. So these are my views on the XAUUSD. A very simple setup here. Let's exercise patience and wait for the structure to mature before we jump into any position. And so this is the end of our session for today. And let's see if you have any questions. Let me know in the comment section, which I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds break to see if there are any questions before we round off for today. And in fact, if you had found this content helpful in making your independent trading decisions for today's trading sessions, I really appreciate your support by giving the video a thumbs up. Your likes are valuable to me, and in fact, it helps the algorithm promote the video to a wider audience of traders who may find this content beneficial to them too. Thank you in advance for doing so. And for those of you who had liked, thank you very much. And for those who are yet to like, please do like. That's the cheapest way you can support this project. Thank you very much. So let's see if there are any questions, and then we shall round off for today's trading session. All right. So, in the absence of no questions, I see your comment, Hiker's Diary. Thank you very much. I wish you the same too. And it's on this note, I would like to call it a day here. It has been a wonderful moment with you guys today. I really appreciate every single moment we had together as we were able to attend to our usual three assets for this week, which includes the US All Sports, the GBPUSD, and of course the XAUUSDs, which is popularly known as the Goldspot, and all of which we were able to use the basic fundamental tools in trading, such as trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns to strategically position ourselves ahead of the next move. So let's be on the watch out. Let's remain patient and allow our structures to mature before we jump into any positions. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I do hope you are able to gain one or two things from what we discussed here today. And in fact, I encourage you to be part of our subsequent editions, as the more time you spend with us here, the better you get to understand our analytical approach in this community, and of course eventually be able to use the information you gather here to make your own independent trading decisions. So once again, I welcome you on board, and I look forward to seeing more of you same time tomorrow, 8:05 a.m. UTC, 9:05 a.m. West African time, as we come back here again to review how well these assets have been doing so far, and of course prepare ourselves for tomorrow's trading session. So I see your comment, Fred. Thanks for the compliment, and I really do appreciate this. So on this note, I want to wish you all the best of luck. I just dropped the link to the XAUUSD live window right in the comment section below. You want to be clicking on it. Click on the notify me button so that when we get online, we will be notified in due time. And for those of you who don't know, the XAUUSD live window is a project, a platform born out of popular demand from this community, where we come together as technical traders to monitor real-time price action on the gold assets commodity. So it's an avenue for you to be part of our decision making and how we are going to enter trades, the zone we are going to be entering our trades, how we are going to be moving our stop losses and securing our position. So you do want to be part of that session, and I look forward to seeing you guys right in that time. Thank you very much, guys. And it's on this note, I wish you a wonderful day out there. Bye-bye.